Hi, everybody. It's Lauren Kling, and welcome to another Film Threat Watch Party. Thank you. There's the camera right there. It moved on me. Welcome to Film Threat. We have another wonderful watch party for you tonight if you're watching us live. Thank you. You can join us on Facebook Live. You can join us on YouTube and Twitch and Periscope. Ask questions and stream the movie along with us. This is the Film Threat Watch Party for 1 Hour Outcall. So the film 1 Hour Outcall is an independent drama. That's what we love here at Film Threat Indie Movies, that shows the history and the unraveling of a complex relationship between a college-age call girl and her middle-aged divorced client. We've got the director T. Arthur Cottam joining us. We've got the writer William Norrett, and we also have Sam Hook, the editor, joining us. They'll be with us in a few minutes. In the meantime, I want to give you guys time to get the movie ready to stream. If you have never done a watch party before, here's how it works. You are going to stream the movie 1 Hour Outcall on your TV or one digital device while you do the playback the watch party on a second device. Maybe that is a phone or a laptop. That way you can ask questions. You can follow along as we play the movie. You're going to play the movie on your own device. Sometimes we've had filmmakers invite their parents and grandparents, and they wonder, why am I not seeing the movie? That's because you're going to stream it. We're putting the onus on you to stream the movie. We'll start the movie. We'll be running it at about the same time. It sounds confusing, but it's as simple as trying to figure out how to stop your old style VCRs from flashing 12. And if you could never figure that out, then all right, we'll figure this out. All right. So as I mentioned, I'm with filmthreat.com, where we have all kinds of film reviews. We have special featurettes. We have latest movie reviews for you. We've got trailers. We've got podcasts. We've got our watch parties. You can go on there right now to read an article about Silent Land that premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. We've got an article about the Amazon Prime movie Cinderella, starring singer Camila Cabello, written and directed by Pitch Perfect scribe Kay Cannon. We've got articles including the 4 worst rated movies of all time. And that's always fun, to talk about the worst movies you've ever seen. One of my worst movies, and maybe we can talk about that with our guest today. We've got how to get your indie film funded, which is definitely a question we'll have, and 4 movies to help welcome the fall. I don't know, is 1 Hour Outcall a movie to help welcome the fall? Maybe. Upcoming watch parties we have on September 17th. Film Fest. This is an independent comedy that takes a look at the real world of film festivals. On September 24th, Brewmance. It's a documentary that takes a look at the world of craft breweries. And then on October 1st, we are kicking off our Halloween series with Howard's Mill. This is a documentary that takes a look at the world of multiple missing person cases spanning over 40 years. So that's how we're going to start this. All right. Enough about Film Threat. Let's bring on our filmmakers. So let's say hello to the writer and star, Bill Norrett. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And also the editor, Sam Hook. How are you, Sam? We don't hear your audio, but that's okay.
I'm here. I'm doing good.
Wonderful. Right before we started, Bill had said you are the tech wizard. So internally, Bill is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Sam had his audio muted.
Yeah, he really made me look bad there. Yeah.
He made you look good. Yeah. And so welcome, guys. So the thing we've been noticing that T is calling from some old dial-up or one of those old where you have to go on a treadmill to make your internet work. So I invited him to join us by chat if he's not able to join us live. So in the interim, Bill, you're going to Weekend at Bernie the role of T for us. Is that okay?
I'll do my best. I'll do my best, Andy McCarthy. There you go.
Yes. Okay. And Sam, you can be the other guy. Who I'm sorry, I can't remember the other actor.
Jonathan Silverman. Come on.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. Okay. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me. So if you wanted to explain 1 hour outcall to somebody, one or both of you, do you have like a log line you think kind of would explain? It's a really interestingly written and edited movie. So I'm curious how you might describe it to somebody.
I'll go first, Sam. I generally pitch it to people as a middle-aged man begins to see an escort at Thursday at 8 o'clock every week. And he does it over the course of a year. And during that year, complications ensue. That's how I describe it. And then,
Got it.
And I answer follow-up questions. So.
Sam, for you as the editor, I don't know if I've ever asked, but you definitely might have a different take on the way you describe the movie. Is yours kind of similar to Bill's, or would it be a little bit different?
Similar, but I would include the detail that we are seeing their relationship evolve over a year by rapidly cutting between various moments throughout that year, and not in a linear fashion. So you get to really kind of piece it together as you go.
Yeah, and you literally were piecing this together as you went. So I'm really curious to talk further about that. Let's check in with T and see how he's doing. I had a picture. This is like in the 80s when we were trying to connect with Russia. Do you remember that? Like that was the big thing.
Look, you can't deny that it cultivates the mystery. So, you know.
It does. It makes this guy T. Author Cottam so much more mysterious. So we'll see if he can connect with us. But let me remove that screen for us. So we're gonna start the movie. It's about 5:08 right now. So we're gonna start the movie. By 5:15, we'll give T a few more minutes to start. So Bill, I'm really curious about your background. When I was doing research, you have a background. You went to Duke University.
Yes.
And let me see. All of a sudden I'm looking for these notes that I had. You have a bachelor's degree from Duke in English language and literature.
Yes.
You're the author of plays. You wrote a book.
Yes.
But then you also have a financial analyst background. So I'm wondering, was filmmaking and screenwriting and script writing always there, and financial analyst was there to kind of help pay the bills?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I moved out to Los Angeles a while ago with the intention of writing for film and television, and then spent a lot of time not writing much of anything. So in the interim, I had to pay the bills, and so I got a job I worked at Kaiser Permanente for a while, and then I quit Kaiser Permanente to take a trip around the world in 2014, 2015. And while I was traveling, that was pretty much when I wrote the bulk of 1 Hour Outcall. So when I quit my job, I kind of quit my job with the notion of I was kind of running out of time to quit my job and take a trip around the world, and kind of making Outcall was kind of the same kind of philosophy. It's like I'm running out of time to try and make this micro budget movie. So when I got back from the trip, T and I hooked up, and T knew about the idea for a while. I had pitched it to him a few years prior, and he was very excited about it. So when I got back from the trip, I finally said I was ready to try and get it made, and off we went. So.
Got it. I was really intrigued because when I read your story, you mentioned a couple of times about running out of time. And I'm wondering if you've ever kind of explored why you've felt this in your life, at least a couple times. Has this been something that's been going on since you were a kid, or more as an adult?
It's more of an adult feeling. I mean, again, I am notoriously lazy and have been, pretty much my entire life. So like over the last few years, it kind of feels like, it's really time to get off the stick and get moving on some stuff and really kind of push. And the sense of urgency, perhaps, that I didn't have when I was 22, I kind of have now. So I think there is an element of, you're running out of time to do things. So, I had always dreamed of making an independent film growing up, and so I finally did something about it. So, so I do definitely have that sense of urgency. Yeah.
Got it. And then for you, Sam, do you feel that same kind of thing working behind the scenes? Do you feel, at least in a project, you're always running out of time? Do you feel like you, as an editor working in the business, you're running out of time?
I always do feel some kind of immediacy with every project I take on. I'm kind of my own worst enemy in that way, in that I'm always there may be no external pressure from directors or producers for me to get through a cut or notes or anything, but I'll put that pressure on myself to, I need to get this done now. I always am looking ahead to the next project and just trying to finish what's on my plate so I can put more on it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you hear these questions asked and answered for a lot of in front of the camera people, actors, writers, but you don't necessarily hear that from people behind the scenes. And especially in independent films, we all kind of take on these roles in front of and behind the scenes, and have these same concerns of running out of time.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where when you're dealing with a micro budget or an independent film, because money's so tight and so hard to come by, if you're not constantly pushing and driving, my fear was that if I wasn't constantly driving and pushing forward, the thing would die and wouldn't get done. Mm. So, I mean, I didn't want to let it drop just because I didn't want to let it drop. But in this case, I raised the budget through family and friends, and I felt a particular sense of urgency and a responsibility to get it done for them. So.
Got it. Is that why in the credits you see a lot of thanks people? Is that the friends and family?
There are several credit pages of people to thank. Yeah, I mean, virtually everyone in my life, and certainly family members of Sam's and T's and everybody. But I mean, I relied on. I mean, people have been helping me for years to get this done. So there was a responsibility that I felt to them. So.
Got it. All right. It looks like he's back. Let's see if we can bring on the mysterious unknown T author, Cottam. How are you?
Hello.
Ooh, we hear him. You're live. Welcome. Oh, now his audio went out. It's all right, T. We can see you.
I mean, nobody was doubting that he existed, but like the mystery is definitely enhanced. So.
Yeah, T, you definitely have enhanced, and of course, there's like 3 different short films right now that all revolve in my head now about a mysterious panelist on a StreamYard watch party.
Right.
And we slowly get to hear and learn about him without him ever saying a word. So we'll see if he can come back. Maybe what we can do is, now that we have a picture, we can ask yes or no questions. T, are you open to us asking yes or no questions? You would have to shake your head yes or no. Yeah, see.
Wait, what? All right, now he's being.
Oh, do we hear you now?
I just heard that. I heard an answer.
I think you're hearing me.
Oh, okay.
I was doing my best T impression.
Don't you love live streaming? All right. So, all right. So here's a couple of ways we can do this. So T can be a part of the conversation. We can either ask him yes or no questions. We can, we can have him post questions in the private chat on StreamYard, and then we can share those questions. Let's see what else. We can have you post questions on our live YouTube stream during things. Or you can go get a drink and some snacks and just sit in the background and watch the movie along with us because you've done so many of these interviews already. He's gone. All right.
All right. He's going to try again, I suppose.
All right. So, all right. It's 5:15. So let's start the movie. So here's what we're going to do. Bill and Sam, you've done this before with other watch parties. For everybody else watching us, this is the time where you're going to get the movie ready to go. So I've got this on my computer, so I can just look over here and I've got it ready to go on Amazon Prime. And then if for some reason you start a little bit late, we'll call out the time code every so often just to let you know where we're at. So let's start the movie. I'm going to do a 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start the movie. And that was it. And so we'll let this opening play. So I love this shot. Who was the cinematographer? Was T doing the camera and cinematography and directing?
T's the cinematographer as well. Yes.
All right. Got it. All right. So good. That's a yes or no question. If I don't ask a question in the form of a yes or no, I read that this was shot over 29 days. Was this all filmed in the Bay Area?
No, actually, it was filmed in Los Angeles. The apartment building is in downtown LA. We used stock footage for the Bay Bridge and for the cityscape of San Francisco, but we shot pretty much everything in the apartment is shot downtown, and then we shot for 4 nights at a restaurant named Michelli's in Studio City. So.
No, I recognize the restaurant. You kind of get to the point where when you work in the film business, you often recognize a location. You're like, I've eaten there before.
Right.
I've noticed that anytime somebody's playing miniature golf in any TV show or movie, it's at Castle Park in Sherman Oaks.
Yes. what a great place. So Al, our very own Alan Ng, asks, how do you start the money conversation with family and friends, Bill?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I kind of pitch it along the lines of, this is something I've wanted to do my entire life since I was in high school. And I give them the whole I'm running out of time speech. And then when I assure them that I don't have a fatal disease or anything, I'm just feeling a sense of urgency. And my father actually gave me some good advice because I was drawing up an email or a letter to send to contributors, and I was pitching it as an investment and all that stuff. And my father's like, these people are going to support you because they love you. So don't couch it in terms of that. And then the other thing is the budget is low enough that my father said, I know it seems like all the money in the world, but on one level, it's really nothing. So like it kind of freed me the confidence to start making the requests. And then you get to a point where the movie needs to get finished. So you kind of lose your humility. I mean, you lose your shyness at a certain point and you lose your kind of reticence. And then it just becomes about driving to the finish line. So. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm assuming for T, you've done a lot of short films. You've done a lot of bigger projects. So I'm assuming you face this every time as an independent filmmaker trying to raise the money for your vision. Yes. If any lip readers want to join us to speak for T, if not, we'll continue. We'll make it work. T, feel free to throw your comments wherever you want. Oh, what else? If you've got any sticky notes, this will be the most interesting. We're going to figure out a way to get T's voice here on the watch party.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. If you know that movie with the Martian, before he could speak, when he was just kind of if you want to create a series of hexadecimal characters, we'll translate those, and it'll be about 17 minutes for you to hold up a letter for us to translate. It's all good. Wonderful. So if you're just joining us, in case TU didn't get to start the movie along with us, I'm at time code 422. So talk about this car ride right here, if you can, Bill. Where are we? Why are we here?
Well, we actually shot this in Santa Clarita. And again, I'm just going to offer a full initial disclaimer that I'm speaking for T, but I'm speaking on behalf of T, but I'm not speaking for T. But we shot in Santa Clarita, and it was the last couple of nights of the shoot. And interestingly enough, this scene the car scene, the car is not moving. T worked his magic as a director, and Sam did a little post-production magic to make it look as realistic as it does. My real contribution to the car scene is I stood in front of the car on a ladder with lights, moving them back and forth so as to kind of simulate traffic lights, and Sam did the brake lights on the other side. So, so those shadows and lights that you see passing over the women in the scene, those are me and Sam. So yeah, that's the magic of the movies right there.
I'm laughing because working on some small budget movies, that's one of the tricks of the trade.
I'm very proud of it, frankly. So I'm proud of a million things from this movie, but two of the things I'm proud of are, number one, it looks like a moving car, and number two, it feels and sounds like a crowded restaurant. Those are two things I'm very proud of. So yeah, that's T's independent filmmaking genius right there. So.
Nice. All right. So if the film took 29 days to shoot, Sam, how long did you have? How many minutes did you have to basically cut and lock this print?
Well, so I was actually on set editing as they were shooting. So I already kind of had a head start on it by the time they wrapped up. And I finished up the first pass of it, I'd say maybe 3 weeks after that, after we finished shooting. And then we went through several iterations after that before we got to the final cut you see today. But yeah, it was less than a month, I would say, before we got first picture.
So did you have a full editing rig kind of off camera and just ingesting the footage and cutting it?
Full editing rig basically just meant my laptop.
Got it. Okay.
Connected to a monitor. But yeah, that was kind of our whole setup. Any like flat table space I could find, I just set up there. Just kind of doing it as you go. I was sitting in the back of Michelli's editing while they were shooting.
Yeah, I mean, T explained, I had never met Sam before, and T explained that he was the editor, and I hear that there are movies that don't do it that way, and I don't understand it. I thought it was a huge benefit to have the editor on set. I mean, and then like Sam said, I mean, just he turned it around that quickly. So, I mean, the first cut. So,
got it. Wow. So, Sam? Let me see if we've got T on a new angle. Let's see if he can join us now. Hello, T. Are you there? More calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
Yeah, can you?
We can sort of hear you, but it's still a bit choppy.
Wow, this is.
Is that
crazy.
T's voice?
That is T's voice. I can verify that is T's voice.
T, I am already so intrigued. We can either hear you or see you, but not both at the same time.
Trying to work my magic here.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, well,
So maybe we have T. Maybe part of the film we have him visually, part of it we have him by audio.
Look, I just think the legend of T. Arthur Cottam is growing with this. I mean, it's like a mythical creature.
Yeah.
So.
I promise this is a watch party, so we're watching the movie, and I know we should get to the plot of the movie and the story of the movie. I was just intrigued by T, but also by the process of filmmaking. And so, Bill, you wrote this. Did you write this envisioning yourself as the lead character?
I mean, I wouldn't say 100%. I mean, I was certainly open. You know, if a movie star had found the script and wanted to do it, that'd be fine. But I mean, again, kind of in keeping with that micro budget, independent spirit, I kind of knew all along. What I wasn't prepared to do was kind of wait 3 or 4 years to hope that somebody would be interested to do it. So I mean, in the writing of the script, the character has a lot of me in it. I wasn't 1,000% convinced that I was going to play the role, but I wasn't surprised when it happened either, if that made sense.
Got it. Well, if I remember correctly, doesn't the character have a finance background?
He's an economist. Yes.
Yeah. So I always think that a writer writes from what they know. Mm-hmm. So I kind of assumed that part of the character was also part of you in a varying way.
I think that's. I think that's fair. I think that I think the one thing, this is the first script that I kind of wrote where I really didn't try to be. I try to just write kind of. A lot of my writing is more witty banter than I think. I mean, I think there's some witty banter here. It leaks through, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I was trying to do it less stylized than I normally do it when I write this. More naturalistic with the script. So,
got it. Now, this idea of time shifting or flashbacks. I read that your novel, The Vanilla Gigolo Prescription. One reviewer said you use that. So was that something you put into this story, or did that actually come with editing?
No, it was in the original. The nonlinear aspect was in the original script. Sam took that notion, and with the first cut, he really executed what I wrote. And then I tell the story. We watched the first cut, and everyone kind of agreed that it was telling the story pretty effectively, but it wasn't telling it as effectively as it could. So I certainly trusted T and Sam, and I think I can speak for T that he trusted Sam, and we sent Sam off and let him take his own whack at it. And I think that he definitely kept the spirit of what I wrote and improved it. So yeah, but the nonlinear aspect was in the original script. I basically wrote, there are the equivalent of 7-hour episodes that I kind of wrote all of the 7 episodes and then kind of pastiched them together for the draft of the script. So.
Wow. That's it. So Sam, did you get any kind of visual scribbling of here's how these 7 stories come together or work with each other? Or was it just within the script that you kind of had to process that?
Yeah, I was just pretty much just going off of the script. And then once we got the first cut finished and like, as Bill said, we reviewed and decided we needed to try a few different things. What I did after that was I went in and broke every scene down into little micro scenes. Like it might just be 1 or 2 lines, but writing onto a note card, like what the motivation and the point is of these 2 lines and distilling it down to as most of a base thing as you can. So then once I had all those note cards, then I went about rearranging some things to try to help the narrative flow and to help achieve like kind of what we were going for in the first pass. For example, the opening car scene was originally the full opening of the movie uncut. We didn't jump in between the apartment, and then that was one of our big changes, was to open with Esme arriving at the apartment and then going to the car and intercutting that with the apartment stuff later.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to how good a job that Sam did, and also that he kept the spirit of my idea with the script alive. Is that I don't remember I don't remember what the original order. I mean, it just became what it became. You know, but the spirit of what I was trying to do when I wrote the script definitely came through.
So let's talk about working with Natalia Ochoa, who it plays Esmeralda and Anna. Bill, did you two get together before the movie to talk about this story? Did she kind of understand where you were trying to go with her character?
Well, I mean, the story, I mean, T and I auditioned a lot of people for Esmeralda, and we were struggling to find someone. And I tell this story because it's amusing. We had cast an actress in another role, and she hadn't read the script. And we were very excited about her, and she asked to read the script, and she read the script, and she was very she was very angry about what she considered to be the sexual content in the film, and sent a couple of very terse emails dropping out, which kind of freaked me out because I'm pretty anxiety-ridden guy by nature. So then I called Kristen Carey, who plays my ex-wife in the film, and she kind of calmed me down. But then she asked if we had cast Esmeralda yet, and I said no. And she was friends with Natalia. That was a Friday. Natalia came in on Monday and had the role by Tuesday.
Wow.
Killed it. She crushed it. It was funny because there was another actor who we were considering. T and I liked her, but we weren't gaga over her. And then Natalia auditioned, and I said after she left, I go, wow, I guess we have a problem now. And T's like, I don't think we have a problem at all, because he had seen what Natalia can do, and he was right. And so she and I, we did a lot of rehearsal with T. We did a lot of rehearsal on our own. Natalia was very proactive about kind of finding a life for Esmeralda and answering some questions. I don't like to kind of dictate every note of like a backstory or something. I don't think that that's my job as the writer necessarily, and T's the director. So I kind of let those two kind of flesh the script out. But no, Natalia was always full of questions, always very curious, always very opinionated in a good way about what her character would do, about where her character came from, about what she was trying to say. She was a joy to work with. It was inspiring how kind of committed she was to fleshing the characters out. So,
I think that also helped you, Bill, just in bringing out your performance of Greg. Like, she kind of brought you into that comfort zone.
Sure. No, that's absolutely. I mean, ironically enough, not only did she bring me into the comfort zone, but she also really did a good job at kind of disarming. I'm an anxious guy by nature. I'm kind of a warrior by nature, and given that I was basically having friends and family give me money to make this movie, I was very, very, very committed and stressed out about getting it done. And Natalia did an excellent job at kind of disarming my anxiety and kind of having me relax, which, certainly helped with the performance, but it helped with everything. I mean, it helped with every aspect of production. So, yeah, we were extremely lucky to get her. So,
yeah. Now, I mean, the subject matter is very adult. So, Bill, if coming from the background of just being a nervous guy or a worrying guy, was this kind of the only story idea you thought about? I mean, did you say, I can't believe this is the first film that I'm going to be starring in and writing, and this subject matter, why am I doing this?
Yeah, there was that element. The joke that I make is I have 3 nieces who are under 18, and at a certain point, I'd like to write something that they can read or watch. It hasn't happened yet, because their mother doesn't let them read the novel yet either. But mainly, the subject matter was interesting to me, not so much the sex part of it, but the relationship and the intimacy part of it was interesting to me. And I also wanted to take the role of an escort and just have the movie be, or the script be, non-judgmental about that part of it. That was interesting to me. I knew that there was some salacious element to it. I don't think it's that graphic. I mean, there's no nudity, and I mean, I wanted to challenge myself to write a sexual movie that wasn't graphic. But yeah, there was an element of, wow, this is the first thing that you're going to try and make. Yeah, it was it was interesting. Yeah, so.
Alan's got a question. Was the script in chronological order needed for rehearsals?
No, I mean, we would rehearse on episodes. We would rehearse episodes here and there. I don't think we did that. And I mean, I'm not going to remember exactly. We shot the beginning of the movie a little bit in chronological order because T had a very special idea for the opening kind of doorway sequence. So that required a little bit of straight point A to point B. But when Natalia and I would run lines, we would bounce around. And I think when T had us both, I don't think we necessarily went from start to finish. But it's a good question because bouncing back and forth, what I tried to do with writing the script is I tried to have a nonlinear story, but then still maintain an overall arc. So even though it's bouncing around, I wanted it to have kind of a beginning, middle, end. And I think definitely with Sam's cuts, I think it achieved that. So. I'm marveling at how short my hair is. So. Yes,
I'm at about 20 minutes, 37 seconds inside Michelli's. Are you guys around about that same point?
That's where I am, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's it's interesting knowing a little bit from Alan's review on the Film Threat website that there's, time switches in here, but not knowing the end of the movie. It's interesting to watch it again. And I think Alan made a good point. You really need to watch this multiple times in order to kind of make sense. Things seem different the next time, the subsequent times you watch.
That's been a heartening compliment that people have paid. That it does bear repeated viewings. And there's a joke. There's a review on Amazon, which or IMDb, or I don't know. You ignore the reviews, but there's this woman or a reviewer who was talking about how all the time switching back and forth was so frustrating. Blah blah blah. I can't stand when filmmakers do this. And then at the end of the review, she said, "Having said all that, I'm definitely going to watch it again." I think it kind of sums up the interesting nature of the nonlinear film. It also kind of sums up internet reviewers or internet commenters at the same time. So.
Right.
Well, there's also just little tidbits that if you watch it multiple times, you'll pick up along the way, like repeated lines of dialogue, things like that.
Yeah.
Themes that we keep hitting.
Yeah.
There was even more repeated lines of dialogue in the original cut.
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, I deliberately, because again, I wrote all the episodes in their entirety, knowing that there is a lot of repetition because there's a lot of repetition just in basic conversation. Mm-hmm. And then also knowing we're not going to shoot this, or we've never used this. It's like, in order for me to kind of get into the naturalistic flow of an entire episode, I wrote a lot of things that I knew wouldn't be used. But the irony is another brilliant idea that T had is we did what we would call shooting heads or tails. Like I had the finished shooting script, but then we would shoot like 2 or 3 lines before what we intended to use, and then we would shoot 2 or 3 lines afterwards. So all these episodes, which I knew I wasn't using, which was kind of superfluous material, T had the right idea of shooting a little bit in the beginning and a little bit at the end. We wound up using some of this stuff. So, I mean...
That was extremely helpful when putting it together.
Yeah. So it was another smart move on T's part.
That's really interesting because for actors, you come into a scene or an audition with the pre-life or the post-life. So you're not just starting a scene with the first word, but your character has just finished a thought or said something. So that's very cool.
Yeah, it was a great move on T's part, and it really helped me. I can't speak for Natalia, but I imagine it helped her too. So, This scene, again, we shot in downtown Los Angeles, and given that we were a micro budget and we were pretty much shooting right on Skid Row, I always think of the scene as an example of the challenges that an independent filmmaker faces when shooting in downtown LA, because you couldn't control the noise. You just couldn't. It's just periodically we would have to stop because, but ironically in this scene, it always tickles me because there's the sound of a bus driving by that, obviously we couldn't control because we're a micro budget film, but I think it works with the scene. I don't know. I was like that. So.
And think about how much money you saved on not having to purchase that bus and background ND sound effect.
That was T's first note on my first draft. He's like, all these buses, we can't afford anything. So we just have to get lucky with the buses. So.
Sam, did you ever find in editing that background sound made it impossible for you to use a cut and that you had to go to like a second best?
I don't know if I ever had to like settle for second best. I mean, there were certainly, because I guess like when I watch footage, if there's some kind of technical mistake, I just kind of don't consider it at all as being an option. So I think ultimately the best stuff we shot ended up in the movie. It was frustrating though, seeing some great performances and then hearing people shouting in the background or ambulances.
There seemed to be a guy who deliberately would turn on his boombox. It seemed like he got personal at a certain point. So, But what I didn't know is that the city of Los Angeles, the film office, has people whose job it is when a film set calls and says it's too noisy here, they send somebody down. But we, even a small budget movie like ours had, people come out. So that's something I never knew.
You guys have some heady, serious conversations in this movie, and at times it felt like a play. Bill, did you write this with kind of a live stage performance in mind, or blocking or anything like that?
Well, I mean, the notion, again, like, all right, my dream is to make an independent movie. I know that I'm not going to have any money. So what are the ways that I can write something that is going to be shootable, that's going to be feasible in terms of a micro budget picture? And one of them, is a two-hander play. If you've got two characters for the bulk of the movie, that obviously makes things cheaper. I knew, I came up with the idea for the story when I was living in an apartment downtown. Never got around to finishing it, but the notion of having a nice apartment and having like a man and a woman kind of argue, that's obviously, there's a theatrical kind of element to that. A friend of mine, it's funny you should say that because I always intended it as a movie, but one of my friends read the draft and the first thing he goes, well, this is a play. And I'm like, well, no. So, I mean, I don't take that personally. I don't think that's a criticism. I like when people see the theatricality to the dialogue, but no, that wasn't my intention. It was always intended to be a movie. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Alan wants to know if there were films that inspired your approach to writing this particular film.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of David Mamet's, both his stage stuff and his film work. Ironically, the two kind of idols I have that I kind of use for this movie are David Mamet and Nora Ephron, if that makes sense. I like Nora Ephron's kind of urbanity, and I also like. She's a woman. She's got a great, or she was a woman. Unfortunately, she's passed. But I mean, she was a great writer, and I like Mamet's naturalism. So those were kind of the two that I had going into the writing of the script. In fact, it's funny because they're in the script. There's actually a line referencing Nora Ephron. At a certain point, Greg tells Esme that she looks like a Nora Ephron character, the way she's dressed up her like in a very brightly colored coat for Thanksgiving. And it was a mild debate between T and me as to whether or not we should include it. His opinion was no one would get the reference, and I deferred to him ultimately. But I was like, more people will know Nora Ephron than you think. So,
well, speaking of T and this big Nora Ephron conversation, he's come back. Let's see if
Can you
he's
hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank God. All right. So just to clarify the Nora Ephron thing. my argument was that a 23-year-old woman who is from another country would probably not know Nora Ephron.
That's right.
And then Natalia confirmed that she didn't know who Nora Ephron was. So that was the.
I still harbor it.
I'm currently using my daughter's iPad. It seems to be the only device that's working properly in this household. So.
Whatever works.
Well, thank you, T. I hope you didn't mind us making fun of your dial-up early 2000 internet connection.
Not at all. This is where I put in a plug for everybody to go to my Patreon page, T. Arthur Cottam, and donate so I can get a new computer that's from this century.
Now I'm starting to think it was deliberate. It's all deliberate.
Viral
You still
marketing.
running a You still running a sound blaster in that old 486? Okay, I'm totally dating myself and making myself very nerdy, but T, thank you for joining us here. We always love when filmmakers can jump in the middle, step in for a few minutes.
Yeah, sorry for all the technical issues, you guys.
It's all
first time
good.
I've had that problem with any of these watch parties. So,
hey, we're a special kind of watch party, you know.
That's right. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, to not put so much of a load on my Wi-Fi, I'm not streaming the movie at the moment, but I can sure talk about it and answer questions about it. And I've seen it enough times to have an idea of where we're at. We're about halfway
So I have
through.
a question, and maybe Bill or Sam, you can kind of answer this. At this point of the movie, we see the two gals talking to each other in the mirror. What do we know about their relationship at that point without giving away what happens later on?
Wait a second. I finally get here and you're asking Sam and Bill questions? Is that how this is going to go? Am I being punished now, Lauren?
As long as you know what point I'm talking about. Okay, so T, we're at the 31 minute and 35 second mark. What's going on here?
It's the bathroom
Let's
scene.
see. What's that? The bathroom scene?
It's the bathroom scene.
Oh, okay. What do you want to know about the bathroom scene?
Oh, so I'm wondering, we've introduced this other gal. We will learn later on their relationship, but I'm wondering at this point, what do we learn about them? I remember when I watched this last night, I was like, I missed who she was and what her relationship was in between this two-person film.
Right, which is sort of the intention. You're not really supposed to know at that point who she is. It sort of hopefully lends a little bit of mystery that is then revealed later. So at this point, I just wanted to establish that there is this, and she is established earlier in the car. It's the same character that was in the car earlier. So it's really to just kind of build on that mystery. And are we at the part where it's sort of cutting back and forth between the bedroom scene and the bathroom scene? Yeah. So, which was a brilliant move on Sam's part. So I think that either Sam or Bill can actually speak. Bill speaks very eloquently about how well Sam cut this together.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another example of Sam taking an idea that I had and the notion that I had and making it a lot better while still keeping the spirit of my idea. I mean, how was that, T? Was that eloquent? That was pretty eloquent.
That was great. Yes.
Was it Nora Ephron Urbane? So no, but I don't want to speak.
I wouldn't go that far.
Go ahead, Sam. Because
I don't really have much to add. It's just that I felt like these scenes were, I think, on their own, just standalone scenes before, and I tried combining them. I think that was like kind of the one major deviation I made from the script in the first cut of the movie, was putting those scenes together. But they just naturally felt like they should go together, and gave it a pass, and thankfully it worked.
Yeah, it wasn't scripted that way. Oh, sorry, Sam.
No, I was done.
Sam, I was curious.
Scripted that way.
Sam, I was curious. Did you watch any films that to give you inspiration for this, or did any previous films come to mind while you were cutting this?
Not specifically. One of the big things that attracted me to wanting to work on this movie was the nonlinear aspect. Just because I've always had an appreciation for movies that try something different and try telling a story in a different way. So, yeah, that was like the main reason I wanted to start working on this.
Would anyone like me to blather on about anything in particular?
I just assumed you were going to take us all the way home, T. Come on.
You guys thought you were going to get away with doing this watch party without me, didn't you?
Yeah.
This is how I operate when I'm making films and in life. I don't give up easily. I'm pretty laid back, so it seems like I might, but I don't. The end. Thanks for coming to the 1 Hour Outcall Film Threat Watch Party.
Thanks for stopping by, T. We're sorry that you have to go.
It's a drive-by. Well, before I forget, I just want to, I'm watching it and I'm watching it with the closed captioning, and it's very important. I forgot about the third thing that I'm really proud about. In addition to the lights with the car and the restaurant seeming full, I did all these captions. I wrote all of these captions for the closed captioning when we were preparing it for Gravitas distribution.
Painstakingly, yes.
Painstaking and tedious, and man, did I hate my writing while I was doing that. It's like, oh my God, this wordy guy, all this dialogue.
So in preparation for this, I actually went back and looked through our emails, Bill, to see what the timeline was.
Right.
And Bill, it was incredible. Bill was cranking out pages. Like, he would send me a new, so there are essentially 7 episodes of the film, right? So there's all the 6. Is that right, Bill? There's 6 or
like
7.
6 hours and then the restaurant, right? Yeah.
Right, 6 hours. Yeah. And Bill, wrote the first episode, sent it to me in March and then of 2015. And then 2 days later, he had written the second episode. So these are hour-long episodes that he's sending me, that he's writing within days. And, of course, with the self-deprecating, I hate this right now. Let me know what you think.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's totally out of character for you.
Right.
But yeah, he was sending me pages every few days. So he had this script, and keep in mind the script was, because he wrote all the episodes full length and then cut everything together. The script was almost 300 pages. So he had written essentially a 300-page script in 3 months.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Some of it was written while I was traveling, and I had originally intended to write a book while I was taking my trip around the world, but it was a lot harder to kind of write prose. I got a lot done sitting on a beach in Costa Rica. Yeah. So I would take a walk in the morning and then just start plowing through. No, it was great to have T, because you're obligated to someone. First of all, it's not just you writing something where you can take all the time in the world. You want to show somebody pages, and then T's feedback is always on the money, always. I find it's interesting, and I found this with everyone, but particularly working with T, like when I would find myself getting defensive about one of his notes, I knew deep down that that meant that he was correct. It's like when I find myself kind of bristling at something, it's like it's usually because I know that it's right. Like a good example coming up is, a good example that we've already seen is the car scene between the two boys, which is relatively brief in the finished product, but T was really on me to write scenes. Like those scenes weren't in the original script, and T was really on me to write those scenes. And he would like the pages I would give him, and he would give me notes, and it was like 3 or 4 drafts. And then the scene that's coming up, we'll talk about it then. Like where I'm like my 5th or 6th pass of this, and I'm getting annoyed. I'm not saying this to T, but I'm getting annoyed. I'm like, oh man, so many passes of this. But it's like he was 1,000% right, and I really think. I mean, again, we're going to see it in about a half an hour, but I think it answers a lot of the questions that you're asking during the course of the movie. So I do think I'm a good writer, but I really do. I feel extremely lucky to have hooked up with T on the script because he knew how to make things better. So, I mean, it's not simply a matter of me being self-deprecating. That's just what it is.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah. Well, obviously, Bill took notes well, and I didn't really have to give him a ton of notes, to be honest. I mean, it was pretty easy when the foundation was there, and I would just have a vision of something and then run it by Bill, and then he would execute it. So it's pretty seamless, really.
Yeah, it was the script. I enjoyed most of the entire process, but the script process was really a lot of fun. I really got into that. So.
We have a question from my friend Brandon, who wants to know if it's common for a writer and a director to throw a script draft back and forth like you guys did.
Well, I think so. I've done some work in Hollywood on Hollywood movies, and I think that's fairly common. I worked in development a little bit, and I know that is, when you're working in a studio, notes come from everywhere. You're getting notes from the studio executive to the writer, and then the writer will, depending on the circumstances, obviously, if there's a director attached, then the director is giving notes the whole time. But yeah, I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Just real quick. I mean, one of the challenges for me, and one of the things I really strive to do on this was to kind of give myself over to, in this case, T. I really wanted to trust him to kind of, to be the director and kind of give me notes. I would push back when I disagreed, but I really thought for the most part it was a pretty nice relationship. So.
Yeah, T, you started out working corporate, right? You were an executive assistant. You said you did development, so I'm assuming that's where you kind of got that sixth sense about how a script needs to go or a story needs to be told.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to film school. I had started writing scripts myself before I even went to film school. And then right out of film school, I got a job working at a studio where I had some connections there. And then I would work various jobs in the studio. Anything from legal to development. And so I knew how a script was written from my own personal experience, but then being in development, you're exposed to scripts, tons of scripts all the time. So it does give you a sense of what works and what doesn't work. And that doesn't mean that my intuition is perfect. I specifically remember getting a script and having to do coverage on it for an executive, and the executive asking me, is this something you would recommend that we do? And I said, no. I said that the main character is way too unlikable. I can't see this. Anyway, that script ended up being the Dallas Buyers Club. So my my intuition is not always on. And I remember reading the script for Boogie Nights back in the day. because I had seen it 3 times and I thought, oh, this is the greatest script ever. And I remember reading the script and going, man, they made a hell of a movie out of the script because this script sucks.
It's amazing for
Not always
those
easy to tell.
who, I would imagine that for those people who don't know what script coverage is, but you're in a position of kind of saying yes or no to scripts that come in, so your boss can then take the ones you say yes to and then decide from that small pile. You're kind of the gatekeeper to people like Bill's dreams.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever had that much power, to be honest. I don't think that executive was making a decision based on my interpretation of that script. Honestly, I mean, if an executive wants to make a movie, they're not, the way they're portrayed. They're not lazy. They're not, whatever. They read all the scripts too, and they have their own opinions, and they're very strong opinions. So I really don't think that I killed the Dallas Buyers Club at that studio.
Boy, if there was something we can get out of this whole entire watch party is T did not kill Dallas Buyers Club.
Right. Yes.
Right. I was never in the position of killing anybody's dreams. Except my own. Cheers. Where are we at in the movie, guys? What's the time code?
Gabriel and Ellery just got to the restaurant.
All right. Do you know what the time code is?
45, 27, 28.
Shout out to Michelli's. I'm curious, did you have to shoot after hours after they closed for the night?
Yes.
We did 4 overnights. Yeah.
Those days were like
Wow.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, we couldn't. I don't think we could load in until 11, although I might be wrong. But we definitely had to be out by 6. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a turnaround too after all the days, right? So.
It was surprisingly smooth, though. I felt like we were less rushed in the restaurant than we were at the downtown location, the apartment location.
It actually worked out pretty well because we were shooting at the downtown location for like 2 weeks, and then we had a few days off for Thanksgiving.
Right.
And that's when we swapped to doing overnight. So it was easy to make that transition over those couple days off.
Right. Yeah, I know that I don't think. I know that I was worried about losing the apartment. That's why. I mean, that's like why, and so much of the movie takes place in the apartment that my paranoid fear was that if we didn't get it all, we wouldn't be able to get back in there. So, I mean, obviously the restaurant stuff is important too, but I didn't know that I felt like if we were going to lose it, we'd lose it forever. So.
It wasn't paranoia. I mean, there was no way we would have been able to afford to go back to that place. We had gotten a killer deal from location 606. That's the place where we shot. And they were just having a slow time.
Right.
And we sort of capitalized on that and got a great deal. And in the midst of shooting, I remember Joe Burke, the owner of the place, asked, are you guys going to be needing to shoot on, it was either a Saturday or a Sunday, and we hadn't scheduled to shoot on one of those days. And I said, no. And he goes, great, because I got a music video shoot coming in here that's basically going to be paying more than you guys are paying for 2 weeks. So,
yeah.
So I got the message that, we're not going to be able to come back here, at a cheap rate.
Yeah, no, I mean, Joe was great and the location was great, but yeah, I was like, if we don't get everything we're gonna need to get, but I mean, the restaurant was important, but I don't know, it was a different element too, because after like 3 weeks of just Natalia and me, the restaurant, we had more characters, we had more people. It was we were opening up, so it just felt a little bit more relaxed as far as I'm concerned, because it wasn't quite as claustrophobic. I think that was part of it for me. So,
and for me, to answer your question earlier, yes, I I am the cinematographer for the film too. For me, it was a different dynamic. My challenge in going into the restaurant was, it was easy to light. I used a China ball to light everything at the table, one single China ball, which I was very proud of.
Wow.
Yeah, because the ambient light there is so incredible already. But the challenge for me was, as the cameraman, not crossing the 180, not breaking the 180-degree rule, which becomes a lot more difficult when you're dealing with 6 people. And I know, maybe that's a little too technical for people. Maybe they don't care. But essentially, it's basically so that you're shooting it in a way so that it's not disorienting to the audience. Like somebody looks one way and then the next shot of that person is also looking in a way that it looks like they're looking back at the other person. And I remember after one night of shooting, I went, I don't think, and I, consulted with Sam on this. I said, I don't think I shot that properly. I think that I broke the 180-degree rule, and then Sam confirmed it. Yeah, it doesn't really match with everything else. So I remember, and again, I looked back at my notes on the storyboards, and what I had done to prepare for the next night is, okay, well, first we got to reshoot that one shot, and then I just mapped it out with a camera looking like this. Okay, this person's head is here and the camera's here, and this, I just did mapped out the camera angles for everybody. And I'm not trying to flip anybody off who's British. But that's essentially what I had to do in order to make sure that the movie was going to not disorient people that were watching it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Now, because you've got 7 different stories, I'm assuming you also had to map out your camera placement. In some of those, it seems like the camera was locked in the same spot, like in the apartment, looking at the front door with the actors changing clothes. But sometimes you had to move the camera around for the different stories. Is that, did I see the same movie? Am I correct with that?
I think you're referring to the opening where.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You're referring to the opening, Lauren?
In general,
so
but that's one of them that struck me. Yeah.
Right. So different camera style for different episodes. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. For the most part, I wanted to mix it up in terms of, it was more about location than it was about shots. I just wanted to go for the most aesthetically pleasing shot that wasn't going to, take the audience out of it. So it was more about, okay, how can we make this not look like it's just 2 people in a room talking? So we had mapped out ahead of time during rehearsal, and I had storyboarded as well. Okay, this scene is going to take place in the kitchen to get us out of the living room. And this scene is going to take place in the bedroom to get us out of the living room. And this scene is going to take place in the kitchen. It's Thanksgiving. It makes sense for it to be in the kitchen, So I tried to just visually get us into a different location, which I guess also translates as a different camera style, although technically it wasn't a different camera style. I pretty much locked down the camera in every scene, which for me was an attempt at, visual discipline on my part, because the films that I had done in the past, most of them, except for Objects, which hasn't come out yet, I'm doing handheld camera and being kind of loose about it. And this one, I really wanted to be disciplined about, let me just create a nice shot and allow the actors to kind of play within those shots.
Was this a single camera shoot, or did you ever have a second camera?
It was just the one.
Broke up. Just one camera, yeah.
Okay. Is my internet going out now?
I think T is lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, we shot with the Canon C500, which is a camera that is not used very often, but it allowed us to shoot 2K. Now, the crazy thing about Canon and Sony is that they charge you for a license if you want to shoot 4K, which is $1,000 or something like that. So with Sony, you can only shoot these 4K cameras. You can only shoot HD without paying the $1,000 license fee. And with Canon, you can shoot HD and 2K, but you can't shoot 4K without the license. So to keep the cost of the movie down, we didn't pay for the license, so we ended up shooting in 4K. It was a great camera. My understanding of it is that it's not used very often because you have to use an external recorder. You can't record in 2K in the camera itself. So the whole time we had it's called an Odyssey, which is a separate recorder, and that records all the visuals onto a drive, and it also acted as a giant monitor. So it worked out well for us. It was great. I mean, we got the camera for free. We were able to use the camera for free and the recorder for free, thanks to Mark Stolaroff provided that, who's an independent film producer. He provided the recorder, and then Greg Salmon, a friend of mine, provided the camera.
I never knew about the licensing issue with shooting 4K. That's really interesting. But I guess if you're shooting 4K, you can afford it, or I don't know.
Not us.
No, not us.
Welcome to independent filmmaking.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's in addition to all the other stuff that T does great. T is great at not squandering money. He's very much on it. I tell the story. He and I auditioned actors for a week, and then I took him to dinner at this Italian place in Santa Monica just to talk about the week. And then we're leaving the restaurant, and he goes, "Bill, if you want to be an independent filmmaker, you can't spend money on dinners like that." It was a valuable lesson. So yeah.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, this was just a celebratory thing, just to,
it was a special occasion.
This is not a normal thing." Like yeah.
So you didn't have a private French chef catering and doing your second meals on set each night?
No. I searched there to find a joke or some kind of quip or what. No, there were a couple of days during the 29 days where if I didn't find $800 by the next day, we were going to have to stop. And I mean, I'm not joking about this part. Like, as we were going into Michelli's to shoot the overnights, it was like I paid the actors weekly. I was very proud of the fact that everyone got paid. They didn't get paid much, but they got paid. And there was one Thursday we were going into Michelli's when if I didn't come up with $800 the next day, we were going to have to stop. And I wasn't happy. I was pretty upset about it. And T really, he's like, "Bill, we'll get it done. What we've got now is close. We're getting there, or whatever." So, I mean, I'm extremely proud of the fact that we got this done for as little money as we got it done for, and how good it looks for how little money we got it done for. And that's T. That's all T. So.
Well, it was Bill who raised the money, so I can't take all the credit for it. And I let him know up front. I said, "Man, I can do everything on a movie but raise money. So as long as that burden's not on me, I'm in."
Yeah. No.
And he did it. I mean, I can't imagine the pressure he was under to raise money in the middle of shooting to try to get through shooting. And yeah, I did tell him at a certain point we were in the restaurant. So we were more than halfway done with shooting, and I already kind of knew in my mind, like, well, the rest of the stuff is really not going to cost that much. So the biggest costs were the restaurant and the apartment location, because we had to pay for those. And I knew that we had other locations that we were shooting at that we weren't going to have to pay for, because a friend of mine he let us shoot at his house, so all the driving scenes were done in his driveway. And the bathtub scene, a friend of mine let us shoot there for free. And so I knew that we were pretty close to the finish line, especially in terms of financially what we're going to be spending. And so, when Bill said, I don't know how, we might have to shut this down, I was like, well, look, I mean, worst comes to worst, we already have all of the apartment stuff. So in my mind, we have a movie. And, I know that Bill wasn't satisfied with that necessarily, but I knew that we had a movie, and I knew we could shoot other things for free.
Yeah, no, it's important that T understands that I appreciated what he was saying. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate what he was saying, but that's just not the way I was looking at it. And it's just like we talked about before when T was having his connectivity problems. But it's like if you like these independent things where my constant fear is that if you just don't keep pushing forward, it's going to die. So to be on the 20-yard line of production and have to worry about having to call it quits there, I mean, it wasn't acceptable to me. But I mean, if it weren't for T cutting down on all of those expensive dinners, we wouldn't have gotten there. So, no, but that was a great. I mean, that was. We can't have dinners like that anymore. So. Like the one in Michelle's.
As somebody who's done, right. Well, it's funny because you'll notice that the audience will notice that food is ordered, but we never see food.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Right.
You can also see me as an extra in 3 different spots in the restaurant too.
Right.
That's right, and I love Sam's performance. He just seems like,
and
I'm not
natural at eating
about this. I love Sam's. Yeah, no, it's not just the eating. I'm talking about where we really see you at the bar, and he's got the drink, and he just looks like a disgruntled dude sitting at a bar by himself. Like I totally believe it when I see it in the movie.
Thank you.
Isn't that the life of an editor, though? Just kind of disgruntled dude.
It seems to be my experience so far.
Not true. Sam is a very positive, very pleasant person to work with. I want to be Sam Hook when I grow up.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Sam is laid back, and Sam has an even keel that I can only dream about possessing. I'll never have it. So yeah, no, it's kind of the perfect counter. So.
All right. So something I noticed, that's just because I'm a dork like this. I noticed that the 2 purple gifts are wrapped like you would actually find something wrapped in real life, whereas most movie and TV show wrappings are wrapped in such a way you take the cover off right away. So who did the wrapping? Do you want to give a shout out to that gift wrapper?
Nora, that was Natalia Ochoa's mother.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Lead actress Natalia. Her mother was visiting and came to set for a few days, and she's wonderful. She's a really pleasant woman and added. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, she did all the wrapping, which was great because at that point in the movie, none of us wanted to worry about that. She did an amazing job, obviously.
Well, and you had to be very careful because if you ripped it, it's like we didn't have an unlimited, much like the Italian dinners, we didn't have unlimited wrapping paper. So you had to be very, very careful about unwrapping it if we were going to do several takes. It's always just amusing to me because I had a couple of men read the script and they're like, what's the big deal about the wrapping paper? And every woman who reads it knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I consider that kind of that's my Nora Ephron incisiveness right there. So.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Bill had to explain it to me. So to Bill's credit, he understood the psychology of the gift wrapping from a female perspective.
You can't simply give women different gifts. If they find out that you've given them different gifts, but they're wrapped the same, that's a thorny issue as well. Not that I have any first-hand experience on that or anything. It's Just made up.
Welcome to the gift wrapping watch party where we discuss for the next 25 minutes
Right.
the do's and don'ts for gift wrapping for your loved ones.
Right. You take anything from this
For those
movie.
of you who are just joining us.
By the way,
Go ahead,
going
Bill.
all the way back, Lauren, when you wondered whether or not this was an appropriate fall movie, that one of the episodes does take place during Thanksgiving. So
True.
Yeah, I consider it a holiday film.
Right. What was the joke we had the other day? It's the third Thanksgiving movie after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Home for the Holidays. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home for the Holidays, and 1 Hour Outcall. for your
but from my
Thanksgiving
perspective,
cheer.
1 Hour Outcall. One Hour Outcall is the number one Thanksgiving movie.
Right.
Yeah. For those of you just joining, this is the 1 Hour Outcall Film Threat Watch Party. What you've missed is me having a bunch of technical problems and then switching over to my daughter's iPad in order to join everyone. And Bill and Sam.
Now we're talking gift wrapping.
And now we're talking gift wrapping. Yes. By the way,
Bill, I have a question. Bill, is this conversation you're having about graduation in the tie? Is that what really happened in real life?
Yeah, that's pretty real to life. When I graduated 500 years ago, I it's the night before graduation. You go out and you get drunk, you get hammered. But for some reason, the notion was I'm an adult, so I have to dress up for the ceremony. And I wore tweed pants, and I wore an Oxford shirt, and I wore a tie, and I almost passed out from heat exhaustion and being hungover. It was ridiculous. I got no medals for it. Absolutely nobody cared that I wasn't wearing a t-shirt and cargo shorts under my gown for graduation. So, yeah, and it's not like my dressing up hid the fact that I was hungover either. So,
based on a true story.
I don't know what it was, but there's little things. There's little things like that you watch a movie and it's just that's part of a story. But there's something, and I don't know if maybe any of you can speak to that when you feel something that feels so real, like that little thing, your story about graduating, wanting to dress like a professional adult human being,
right.
That we pick up sometimes.
Yeah, I like little moments that are real, which I think if you have enough little moments in your script that are real, the whole thing will seem real. I mean, they're just the ingredients. But this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it culminates the intimacy that they've grown to have over the course of the film, and it's born out of the entire year, and it's sweet natured. I like our costume designer Rebecca. Really did a good job, and I think it's a culmination of the arc that I was talking about before. So.
I agree.
Who do you think got me into this line of work? This is that was a definite oh snap moment.
Yeah. It's like the one thing. It's like the worst thing she could say to him. You know what I mean? It's kind of the sharpest dagger that she can stick into him. That you're parenting or the way you are as a father. That's how it ended up. So
there were so many different layers like that, which is, of course, what I loved. One of the many things that I loved about Bill's script is that it always kept me guessing, and I would have to ask Bill, okay, is this a red herring? Is she really? Did she really get her into the business, or is she just trying to get at him? And then that would, Bill's answers based on that would really inform the way I would direct them in the scene.
And I much like I was talking about before, how I was kind of aspiring to write kind of a naturalistic script. I was also comfortable with having ambiguity to those questions. like we talked about before, if you're interested in the answer to those questions and you can't answer them for yourself, you might want to go back and watch the movie again. I think that constitutes a success. So.
Yeah, I have a friend that watched the movie twice and still really didn't understand the main plot point of. I mean, I think we're at that point in the movie now where I can talk about the reveal, right?
What's your exact time code, Lauren?
108:47.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be a spoiler for people who are watching it for the first time, but I'm going to assume that people aren't watching it for the first time. And so, a friend of mine didn't understand that the Greg character is really using Esmeralda to spy on his daughter. Reveal.
And hence the need to watch this multiple times.
Yeah. Right.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, again, I think that it's a nuanced enough story that I think that you can kind of ask yourself where people are coming from and watch it again and kind of get their perspective and watch it looking at different characters' perspectives. I hope so. I mean, that's kind of what I aspire to with the script.
It's been really gratifying too to have the film get the attention that it's gotten, winning the award at Award This, Film Threats Awards, winning, Best Indie Drama, which I was not expecting at all. So that's been really gratifying. Winning the Screenplay Award that Bill won. And it seems that, a lot of people seem to be watching it and enjoying it. And when Bill and I started this process, I kind of managed his expectations with, Bill, just be prepared for this to do nothing and go nowhere because it's a drama. It's somewhat experimental in form, and people may not care, or may not want to see it. And it's just been just the opposite, which has been very humbling and gratifying.
Yeah.
Now, did I see Sam holding up the trophy?
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving your editor / one of the producers the honor, because the editor doesn't always get to get the spoils of an award show that can afford, one trophy for an entire cast and crew.
Well, with COVID and everything, I was out of town and I haven't actually been in the same room with these guys in, a year. So, I haven't even seen that thing in person. So,
Sam, would you like to hold it up again and kind of show it to Bill?
One more. Oh, there you go. No, I don't. I'm essentially living out of my car right now, so I don't have room for baubles. So Sam and T can share it. But it wasn't like you said. It was a very pleasant big surprise. So yeah.
I don't think people realize, Yeah, I don't think people fully realize. I mean, I know I don't when I watch a movie. I don't realize the sacrifices that go into it, and to the movies that I watch and enjoy. And I think it's important for people to know that, Bill was essentially homeless, jobless, and carless when we were making this movie. And that's not something I think that you can tell by watching the film.
No. And now I have a car. I don't have the other two things. I'm building up. I'm one at a time. No, but yeah, I'm extremely proud. Like, I tell this story when I officially, because T and I had talked about it, but when I officially asked him to direct, and then of course, as he's alluded to in kind of my way, I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you think you might want to, direct this? And T looked me dead in the eye. He goes, "Have I not made that clear yet?" So that was heartening. But then I was like, "All right, great." And I go, "All right, how much will this cost?" And T said $25,000, which turned out to be wrong. But that's not the point of the story.
It was not my fault.
Yeah, no. I was not teased. I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but it just turned out to not be true. But I'm just using the number for the anecdote. I said, okay, well, we've got to make $25,000 look like $1 million, and T goes, we can't do that. We can't make $25,000 look like $1 million. We can make it look like $125,000. And I was like, okay, all right, great. I think T and Sam and Jim Esham, who produced the movie as well, way exceeded that. It looks fantastic. Everyone who's seen it comments on how great it looks, and then they hear how cheaply we made it, and they're kind of amazed. They're kind of astounded. So I'm extremely proud of that, even though I really had nothing to do with it. So
yeah, Jim has Jim had a good reaction to that too when you told him that story. Do you remember that, Bill?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like it was like we were deep into shooting, and Jim was driving me home after shooting one night, and I told the story about how T said, well, we got to make $25,000 look like $125,000. Jim goes, that's bullshit. This looks like $500,000 easy, which again, I think is a huge testament to him and to T and to Sam and everyone who worked on it. So, I mean, I was at a film festival in Georgia last year, and like the Q&A afterwards, the guy asked me, he goes, how much did that cost? And I told him, I gave him a rough number, and he just couldn't let it go. He's like, that costs more than that. I said, what? That costs more than that? It's like, what? So, I mean, we took a very small idea, and T really got the most out of it. So,
I mean, part of it is
you've got some. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, I just wanted to comment. You've got some really strong female roles in here, and I wanted to ask about Shannon Lee Godwin as the daughter. Bill, she's angry. I mean, really angry, and it's hard to watch this relationship. And I'm wondering if there's a background to this relationship, if you had trouble finding the right actress to play this role.
Well, I mean, I kind of drew on. I mean, my parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and there's anger there. So I was drawing on that. Shannon. I mean, this will not sound like a compliment in the beginning, but it will become one. I mean, Shannon read with Kristen Carey, who T and I immediately liked because I've known Kristen for a long time, and T met her and she read for the part of Stacy, my ex-wife, and we loved her. And then Shannon read with Kristen, and not only do they have a resemblance, they kind of have a similar physical look, but they read great. And Shannon was a consummate professional and very, very, very dedicated to getting everything kind of right in what she did and giving kind of a forceful performance, which, she doesn't have a lot of screen time, and she kind of just is memorable in what little time she has. And I think she's got a lot of spark, and I think we were lucky to find her too. I think we were lucky to find her, and also lucky that she just read with Kristen that one day. Like, they just matched up together, and we saw it. So I'm
yeah,
sure
it was such a Yeah, no, I just did to echo everything that Bill said. I completely agree. I would say that the casting process for that character was really difficult because we had so many women, really talented women, try out for that part. It was really difficult to choose. And as a matter of fact, some of them we cast in other roles in the film just because we liked their performances so much. Mm-hmm. So Jamie Steck, who plays the other call girl that comes in, she originally auditioned for the role of Shannon, and Bill helped me out. I don't know why I'm blanking out on her name, the hostess.
Molly Doherty.
Yes, Molly Doherty. She had also auditioned, and they just did such a wonderful job. It was really hard to cast that role, but as Bill said, we saw her with Kristen, and it just made sense. And sometimes it just comes down to the way characters, the chemistry between them and how they look. Do they look? I mean, to me, they look like, you know, Kristen and Bill. If they had a child, it would look like Shannon. That's you know, ultimately what it came down to, and her acting skills.
Sure. I mean, because her character has a lot of anger, and which is sometimes tough for people to kind of dive into, which she didn't have a problem. So.
Yeah. And poor Shannon in the bathroom scene, you know, that was our last night of shooting that was shot at the apartment location. That wasn't shot in the actual restaurant. It just was, there was a bathroom in location 606 that I thought was just, you know, more visually appealing. So we used that bathroom. And poor Shannon comes in as we're scrambling to get everything, you know, the rest of the film shot at that location and pack up and leave. And as Bill said, she was the consummate professional. I mean, I could tell she was a little bit jarred, you know, when we first got there, but she, you know, she settled down, she got into the groove, and she was able to knock out that performance, which was not easy. I mean, that bathroom scene to me is not an easy
for that
scene.
to be her first scene, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of threw me was Shannon gets the car and now she seems to be okay with everything, but I feel like it's a more nuanced change in her emotion, Bill. So at least maybe that's just for me, but can you kind of explain to me, why does she all of a sudden feel like her father's okay now that she got this car? Is she superficial, or is there some other reason behind it?
Well, I think that there's some superficiality to it. I mean, I think it's more nuanced than what I'm about to say, but in kind of broad strokes, I mean, he buys her off, you know, she gets a shiny new car. I suspect that she's happy that evening, and then things aren't going to last that long. I think it's kind of a Band-Aid over kind of the tenuous relationship they've had. But I wanted that to kind of be deliberate when I wrote the stories. I mean, she's like all full of anger, and then he just kind of neutralizes it by giving her a gift, you know. And what does that say? I think that the character of Shannon is meant to be angry and in ways unlikable, but I think it's interesting because I think she has every right to be angry. So like, I kind of wanted, when I wrote the script, I wanted people to kind of have a first impression of characters and then go, well, wait a minute, why do I have that impression? Why? I mean, I just wanted it to be I did want it to be a little cynical. You know, I mean, she's been building up and building up and building up, and then he just gives her this gift and then it dissipates. But I don't think that the film indicates that it's going to be long lasting, frankly. So I was fine with that kind of cynicism at the end, I guess, for lack of a better word. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, Bill, you can correct me on this if you want to, but this was one of the dynamics that, you know, we worked on in development, because I think Bill and I both wanted it to be fairly complex. And I think in the original version of the script, it was like she gets the car, and then they continue to have this great meal, and right. all is well.
That's right.
And I think, you know, Bill and I both wanted to kind of push it beyond that and go, okay, well, how can we make this, you know, more complex and not so, you know, black and white? And
right.
I think that Shannon is conflicted at the end. I mean, I think, as Bill said, it is kind of a Band-Aid, but I think there's this part of her that genuinely wants to have a father figure in her life. And I think that there's a part of, you know, Greg that obviously he's gone to great lengths to connect with his daughter, and he's not getting a lot of credit for it. So I think it's, you know, hopefully it comes across as not too black and white and fairly complex, and hopefully it's open-ended enough to feel like it hasn't been resolved by this one gift. that's me explaining way more than I'm usually.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it's a good question from Lauren. I appreciate the question. I mean, like I said, T and Sam have heard me say this a million times, but I mean, I kind of wanted to write a story about good people doing bad things, you know, and I wanted to write a story where everyone is angry or everyone has flaws, but you can kind of understand why they have them, or you can kind of sympathize. Like, I want your first reaction about Shannon to be like, why is she so angry? And then your second reaction is to kind of empathize with her. And then perhaps your first reaction of Greg is, oh, what a jerk this guy is. And then your second reaction is to kind of empathize with him. I was interested by that dynamic with all the characters, frankly.
Which for me is always more intriguing. It's more true to life, in my opinion. And those are the kinds of things that I like to explore as a filmmaker. We're at the abuela scene. I remember there was something that had come up earlier. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, well, I might be off. Where's our time code right now?
I think we're past that now. We're at 124,
okay.
18, 19.
124?
Yeah, credits. The credits just started
okay.
rolling.
Oh,
right.
wow. Okay, moves over.
Okay.
Bye.
Right.
T, you should really check out this film. It's quite intriguing, and you'll be watching it over and over again.
I've heard good things about it. Did we get any other questions from audience members?
We had a few throughout that Bill and Sam were able to answer.
Good job, guys.
We never got to the most important question for T. When you graduated from Tisch School of Arts, what were you wearing at graduation? Was it shorts and a t-shirt, or was it were you in like a tweed suit and tie?
The fact that I don't remember what I was wearing kind of indicates that I didn't wear something uncomfortable like Bill did. The only thing that I remember is that I did keep the cap and gown, even though they said that you're supposed to return them. I thought, well, that's ridiculous. You pay so much money for this cap and gown, and you want us to return them so that you can recycle them and use them again? Like, I've paid enough money over the years to this institution. I'm keeping this cap and gown, man. So I still have it.
Way to fight the man.
Got it. All right.
Right.
So, well, as the credits roll, I'd love to hear what projects you've got coming up. So let's start with Sam. What are you working on? Are you doing features? Are you still doing documentaries?
I'm doing both. So coming up, premiering at Fantastic Fest later this month is The United States of Insanity. It's a documentary that I've been working on and off for the last 6 or 7 years. It's about the Insane Clown Posse and their fight with the FBI. So that's kind of the next big thing I got coming up. I'm also cutting a couple of narratives right now as well, and a couple other documentaries. A lot going on here.
Very cool. ICP, always fun, light, romantic comedy type of subject matter to cover.
Yeah, don't bring your kids.
It's a really a great movie. I
yeah,
saw an advanced screening of it. It's really, it's not what you think of as a typical documentary. It is like going to a party that you wish you were a part of.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Bill, congratulations on having a car. And we know you're kind of couch hopping. What do you have coming up? Are you still writing? Do you have anything coming up?
Well, I just finished a book on Beastie Boys, and I've started rewriting that and doing the quest for, an agent, a publisher, that sort of thing. And I have a couple of feature screenplays that are in various shape. There's a short, the woman Kristen Carey, who played Stacy in Outcall. She and I we're on the verge of doing a short. It's basically, talk about a play. It's basically a one-act play that we're going to film. I wrote that, and she and I are going to star in that. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually writing the thing about Outcall, which is great right now, is like, oh yeah, this thing's finished, and oh yeah, I get to watch it. It's like so many of the things that I'm working on are like at step 272 of 816 steps. But it's really the positive moments with Outcall have really inspired me to be more productive, which was in a way kind of the point all along. So.
Got it. Real quick before we go to T and his collection of projects, I wanted to ask about Beastie Boys because they're one of my favorite bands. So can you talk a little bit about this?
Sure. Last year I went to Baja, Mexico for like a 5-day kind of mini spiritual quest where I listened to all of the Beastie Boys music over and over and over again, and I ranked each and every one of their songs from worst to first. So it's kind of a one part ranking, one part spiritual journey, one part memoir. So it's kind of, hopefully it's got a little bit of the tongue-in-cheek kind of attitude that they have. So yeah.
That sounds very interesting. All right, T, how about you? Have you been on any spiritual retreats or anything like that?
It's just my whole life is one long spiritual retreat, Lauren.
What are you working on now and coming up? Where can we see more of your work?
Well, I just re-released my first feature film, Carbuncle. So that's on a few different platforms. It's on Tubi and Plex and Amazon Prime. And I'm in post-production on a film called Objects, which Sam is also editing. And I'm in production on a film called No Apparent Motive, which was originated by the ICP documentary director Tom Putnam. And Sam is also very involved in working on that as well. And I have a couple of short films that are in post-production as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for joining us. And T, I'm really glad that you were able to log in because I think you were able to fill in some information that really helped to talk about this story. So have internet problems anytime, you're welcome back to have internet problems.
You saved us, T. You really saved us. You bailed us out.
I don't know about that, but thank you so much. I really was determined to not miss this. I was very excited. And thank you so much, Lauren, for having us. And what do you have coming up, Lauren?
Yeah, great question.
Well, thank you for asking. Totally not scripted. So on September 17th, we have Film Fest, which is a look at film festivals, if you didn't know that. And then let's see where else. Hold on. That's an indie comedy. On September 24th, Brewmance. That's a documentary that takes a look at the world of craft breweries. And then on October 1st, we head into our Halloween horror-themed watch parties. And that's a documentary that takes a look at the world of multiple missing person cases spanning over 40 years. I really feel like these kind of missing person and murder things, it's a untapped genre that I'm really looking forward to in the upcoming next year too.
It's a lot. Good stuff.
All right. I was waiting for you guys in shock to be so excited, but that's okay. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I like that genre that you were talking about. I wanted to chime in, but I was like, well, I don't want to break his flow since we're wrapping it up. Yeah.
I'm thinking about is craft breweries right now. So that's you just like, you distracted me.
And T, which one of those was the one that intrigued you?
The missing persons. I'm constantly watching those. I feel like I'm constantly hooked on those documentaries and docuseries. Anything that has to do with missing persons or mysterious deaths or serial killers and that kind of thing. That's my jam.
Are you watching that new series with Steve Martin? What is it? Murders in this building? Only murders in the building?
Yeah.
No, but it's on my list. It's on my list.
All right.
I watched 3 episodes and I'm enjoying it.
That's good. And then Sam, any specific genres of storytelling you're a fan of?
I don't think so. No, I like everything.
Hang on.
Good.
Hang on
All
a
right,
second.
and everything.
Hang on a second. I resent the implication that I'm only interested in documentaries about breweries. I like other movies too.
But it's the truth, right?
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, that's true.
Our job here is to corner you into bite-sized pieces of information that we can then exploit in future watch parties and articles on our website.
Yes.
I like beer. How's that? There you go.
Got it. Now, before we go, I'm going to ask T one thing. I don't know if my research department is accurate or not, but do you have a thing for ice cream?
Oh, yes, the ice cream. Yes. So I do make ice cream. I won't speak to the quality of it. I know that Bill has had it. I don't know if Sam's ever had it.
I will
I've
speak
had it.
to the
It's good.
quality of it. I like T's ice cream almost as much as I like craft brews. So yeah, it's like 1A, 1B.
Yes,
Very
I got
good.
so. Thank you. I got so busy with the filmmaking that I had to let the ice cream company go, unfortunately. So, but yes, I did used to have a company called Cottam Creamery. We made
Sorry to hear that.
Organic ice cream.
Wow. Totally bearing the lead on this whole watch party. Thanks a lot.
Everyone,
All right.
Okay, so ironically, there are executives at a certain studio that I used to work at where they won't give me the time of day if I'm pitching them a project or if I have something coming up. But if it comes to ice cream, it's like, come on into the office. What have you been up to? What new flavors do you have? As people are much more interested, generally speaking, in the ice cream than they are in the filmmaking.
I think you need to rethink your leverage, T. I think you've got leverage there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you need to come in with an ice cream pitch deck rather than a project pitch deck.
I got to sneak in the project around the ice cream. Layer it in.
Okay, all right, here we go. And Sam, tell me if this is editing correctly, but you name each of 3 ice creams, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, and you tell the story of that flavor. Meanwhile, it's secretly one of Bill's projects, and Sam's already got in the mind how to cut this.
That makes perfect sense.
I think you just
Okay.
described all of our next projects.
Our next project together.
All right. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us for Film Threat Watch Party. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you, T. This is where we wave goodbye as we end the broadcast. Have a great day.